Hey, Bobby, we're streaming now, okay?
Okay.
Alex is still not on.
Talking like Alexa, like usually people are used to talking.
So, according to Marla, she says that we're going to start.
Lower, hold on. So three, the preamp. Yeah. That's the amplifier. Test 1 2. Test 1 2. Test 1 2. Hey, Alex, are you with us? Alex,
Yeah,
you there? Cool.
yeah. I'm gonna just go change my glasses. These are not like my good glasses.
All right, good to hear you. All good.
Just test. Did you hear me?
Foggy night.
I hear you.
Just test. Did you hear me?
I hear you.
Okay, can you test again? Alex? Alex, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you good.
Okay, perfect.
But it's normal that we don't. It's normal we don't see, right?
I'm here. I mean, how can you not see me?
No, I see you. I see Bob, but I don't see. We don't see the crowd.
No, you have to go on the YouTube channel. Go on the YouTube channel. You want me to send you the link?
Okay, we're on the Skype. We're not going to see anything. Is
No,
that
you
it?
have to, if you want to watch, you have to be on YouTube.
Okay.
You know how? Yes. Alex?
Yes, but we're on now. We have to be quiet.
Yes, I know.
Thanks. Whoa. Maybe that's hot.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming. And welcome to our nice, bright, lit lobby, finally. Yes. And so the water's on, the hot water's on, and we have Joe Mancini here is going to explain what happened today and what didn't happen. But it all went well. So let's start the meeting. Oh, you're on.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Thank you very much. Today was a long time preparing, but what we did we were able to do the maintenance on all the switchgear in the building, and the unit that was actually seized closed. The contractor or the manufacturer did a fabulous job by taking it apart, rebuilding it, and reassembling the whole system. We did find a problem in one of the switches that it has been repaired in the past and not in a normal conventional way. That being said, that part will have to be replaced in the future, but in the interim, we were able to use parts from another switch to enable us to continue the services that we have today. So we are not in a position that we have to turn the building down again in anywhere soon, but it will have to happen in the future. And I would... Can you guys hear anything?
I heard someone.
Is it okay? Can everybody hear me?
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Thank you. So within the switch that was failed or that is faulty, that was repaired, shall we say, in a non-conventional way, the manufacturers will provide us a proposal on the cost of that replacement part and the schedule to replace that part and shut the building down to reinstall that. That could happen at the time we do the next maintenance in your scheduled maintenance time. So it's not that it has to be a special shutdown again. During the shutdown today, we were actually able to convert over to your new domestic water pumps. So we have now 2 new pumps that are the most efficient one that we can get. You'll notice that the water pressure, you should not have a sporadic water pressure as you had before. Right now the system is controlling it as the building demands for the water. So your domestic water is back on. Your hot water will take an hour or so before it gets throughout the whole building. Your humidification, your dehumidification, your chillers, all systems are all back up and running. The contractors are prepared and ready to start on Monday on the hallway air conditioning, the air handler systems up in the mechanical room upstairs. We are at that stage. That happened today as well. We tied in the chilled water up there as well. So they're all ready to run. So at the same time, we had a total of 6 crews working on the property between the lower mechanical room and the upper mechanical room. All the tie-ins that we needed all happened today. So it went very well. We delayed, I think we lost about 1 hour, but overall the job went very well. Is there any questions that anybody has on what happened today? Yes. When we turn the systems back on today, they will get back to a normal temperature, but starting Monday, we're going to be actually starting to demolish the old machines in the upper mechanical room. So there will be some air that will be turned off, not the chilled or the cooling into your units, but the hallways will be turned off for the days that they're demoing to tie into the new. So that can take from Monday as far as up until Thursday, sporadic on and off, because they're trying to take the old machines out now. We're ready to use the new machine. We had the old systems, we're trying to hold them off as long as we can up until today. Now that we're connected, we now can proceed and get you to operate on the new machine. So we've limped them along as far as we can. We can't buy any more time in those machines. We're at literally the last days. And then that problem is gone for good. Thank you. Yes? Thank you. Thank you. The contractors were great, both Airstrong, Tyrone Electric, FP&L. We had a little bit of a challenge with them, but the inspectors the inspectors on this property have changed their attitude. When we came aboard a year and a half past, the inspectors did not want to come to this property. Now the inspectors actually For an example, the electrical inspector came to the property today, did not want to leave until we were totally back up and operating and fully operational. You don't find that inspectors that often. Now they want to come to your building because they see what you're doing, and they appreciate that. So the inspectors are working for us to finish your building, which is great. And you guys have a lot to do with it because you're contributing your time and you're allowing us to do the job. So you're helping us, we're helping you. And it shows on the building itself. Thank you. Any other questions? Fantastic. Have a good night.
I know that Alex actually wanted to speak to you on behalf of the Board of Directors, as well as Gloria's comments to recognize.
Can you hear me, Marla?
Sorry?
Can you hear me?
Oh, we can hear you now.
Okay.
Okay, take it away.
So just a couple of words. I really wanted to thank Joe Mancini, GMCE, the whole group at South Florida Security Group, everybody on the security committee, managed, and anybody that had any implication with what went on today. Was a very critical day, and we got through it with flying colors. Everything went smooth. We're back up and running, and I just want to thank everybody that was implicated, and especially our project manager, who really, really made sure that this thing worked out great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, so we're going to begin our annual budget meeting, and we're going to first go by and see the proxies, which we finally made the number. We made it in one shot. We got it without going another 30 days or 60 days. We got enough proxies today. We have 168, I believe, total, which is more than the quorum required. 168, and we had 166 in favor of waiving the reserves, and 2 units that wanted to keep reserves. So again, the reserves are waived again for next year. Absolutely. I'm going to make it myself next year. Okay? No attorney to lingo, yeah? So the next step is the board is going to approve the proposed budget for 2020. We need copies. We have given, right? Everybody have copies? And very good. There is a 5% increase, as you all know, which will start as of January 2020. We had some increases. The insurance went up 10%. You don't have? You're missing? Yes. They will be, yes. Yes, I understand. On the breakdown for the maintenance, yes. Yes, they'll be on it. You're right. And again, yes, ma'am. That's for 2020. We don't know what'll happen in 2021. I don't think it'll go down. No, okay, all right. Just, you know, there hasn't been an increase in this building, I think, in over 6 years. So insurance did go up. We did fairly well, I think, as opposed to many of the other buildings in the area. We only went up 10%, but that's still a large sum. It's $40,000. That's we added window washing twice a year, which we haven't had here in, I don't believe, in many years. So that's a few thousand, $7,500. So we added a few items, and access control, we have a contract now, so they'll come and fix our electric doorways now. We have a maintenance agreement. Our new elevator company is a little bit more expensive than the past, but they're one of the top companies in the world, the Schindler Elevator. So it all added up and we needed some help, so we went up 5%. We did use a lot of our working capital this year as, for special projects that were not budgeted. And we probably will use some again next year if we have a need for it. We do have some money in, maybe $400,000 approximately, that we will eventually, at times, if needed, we will go to that account. But this year so far, the budget's in line. We're doing very nicely. We probably would make budget or just under. So I want to hand it over now to the board to take a vote on the 2020 proposed budget. We have just a aye. Eric made a motion. Eric. Second by Marla. And then we're going to Robert. Robert, the president of Marvento.
Robert, I approve.
He froze it? Oh, he's approving it. Okay.
Yes, I approve.
Robert Wilson.
I approve. Second.
Alex Zorella.
I approve.
Thank you. Kenny and Clyde, all in favor, and the motion will pass 7-0. And it's unanimous, and the the coupons will be mailed shortly. So that's it for our budget meeting. If we have questions, be glad to take a couple. Or Marla, do you have anything you'd like to add? Yes, sir.
A couple of questions for the board. In looking through the financials, I get the impression that we're
Who's
not...
asking the question? Please introduce
Oh,
yourself.
sorry. My name is Erwin Kadaner, a resident in the building for 3 years.
Thank you.
You said before, for example, that we're dipping into working capital. When I look at the numbers, it looks to be at least $355,000 this year, expensed against projects which are not reported anywhere. I cannot find any record that says here's the unbudgeted projects that are adding up to the difference in working capital, and here's how much each one cost. And from looking at some of the numbers that you handed out, I have a feeling it's more than $355,000 we've spent this year, looking at some of the projects you listed on your reserve that we've spent money for. So I guess my question is, how do we make it more apparent in the future where our money is being spent on what projects? And should we build a contingency into our annual budget for projects that we don't know what they are, but we know during the course of 12 months we're going to have to spend money because the working capital is relatively low now, and without a reserve, we really need to do that in the future. So that's my question and observation.
Take this, sir. You're absolutely right. We have used quite a bit. And if anybody wants to see the list of projects that were used from the working capital account, please come and visit me at the office. I'll run by line and show you exactly what was done and what it was used for. Huh?
We list all of our expenses on a statement that goes out every month.
We could, yes. I think we could, absolutely. Prior to 3 years ago, Mr. Kadaner, if you weren't here, but maybe you were 3 years ago, the contingency line item was $500,000 over budget. But nobody asked any questions. I did because I was new here. I said, how can we be $500,000 over on your operating budget? Well, what they were doing is just spending money and not even asking. They were just spending it from the operating account, and it just showed negative numbers. So instead of showing negative numbers, now we have an operating budget that's going to come in within budget, but we have to use the working capital account. That's what it's there for. And we will circulate that. No, they're not. Reserves is a reserve study has to be done, and it goes by projects. There's a percentage every year that's, and it goes up every year. It's, you know, you got flat line or you have pooled reserves. Flat line, it goes up every year. I mean, your budget would double. Where the working capital is coming out of a cash account, it doesn't affect your maintenance fees. Your budget remains the same or just 5% increase, as we did. That's correct. Not much more. We're aware of it. Yeah. Because you haven't increased your budget at all. In fact, one year it went down a couple of dollars, which really made no sense. But because you haven't increased, you got into that predicament where you had to use your cash account. But it's not a reserve. Reserve it goes up every year, and it goes for 25 years, at even 30 years, reserve study. Well, we could. What Mr. Cadanner wanted to see is it to go on the balance sheet.
Okay.
Every expenditure from there, but then all it would show is a negative number every month. I think so, yeah, absolutely. That goes towards, just to name a few, your access control project came from that account, the lounge chairs for the pool, those kind of items, treadmills, those are unbudgeted, and they're not in, and we don't have reserves, so that's where it would come from. So that's why
We
have to
can't
be-
hear his questions, by the way.
Sorry?
So
Oh, you can't
whatever
hear his
questions he's asking, if it's still Irwin, we can't hear them. I don't know about you, Alex. I don't know about you, Bob, but I can't hear the questions.
I can't hear anything.
Microphone.
I can hardly hear Al.
Hello? Okay. So my question is, this year, not on any financial document we've received are a list of projects we spent money on. We've heard about the projects, but they're not listed anywhere and how much money we spent on them. It's about 15% at least, by my calculation, of our total expenses was not reported anywhere. So my question for 2020 is, what makes us think we won't have next year some unbudgeted projects, maybe not 350,000, maybe 200,000, and where will the money come to cover it? I mean, I would have thought that that would be part of the thinking of raising in monthly maintenance fees to cover expenses you don't anticipate. So that's my question.
That would have, to put it in the operating budget, those expenses, then your maintenance would have gone up quite a bit more, maybe up to 15%, which we didn't want to do at this time. At some point, it's going to go up. It's not going to go down. It will continue to go up. At what rate, I don't know. I can't predict the future, but the working capital, at some point, it'll be capped and we can't use it because we need that money for any emergency.
So moving forward, Al, are we going to be able to show them the expenses that Irwin is referring to?
Absolutely. I think we should put it on our website and
No, but it
and,
requires an adjustment in our financial way
it'll
things
just
are
show a
done,
very
no?
sloppy operating budget.
But at least the numbers will be there.
The
so-
numbers will be there. It won't really show you the projects. It'll just be dollar amounts. But it won't list the projects like our reserve projects. I mean, our special assessment projects are all listed in your financial statement. Not on working capital. But it'll be, yes, that we could do, of course.
Can we do it for 2019? Can we produce that?
Yes, we could.
Okay.
We have a list. And
Wait, there's a question there.
Where does the working capital come from, that money?
this was, I believe, a surplus that you had several years ago. And, I don't know if it was accidental. Eric, you have a better idea of where it all came from?
We go back to at least my personal theory is that if we go back to the past assessment, that there was excess money left over from the projects that were done then. And that's what's in the operating account. And we've been using that money for unplanned expenses. That's my theory where that money came from.
Is it invested? Invested?
No, we have, it's liquid. It's
Cash account?
Bank account earning a minimal amount of interest.
Any other questions? You should have them by January 1st, yes, you'll have them.
Oh, the money has to be in by January 1st. So if you
By the
give it
10th of the month,
Well, that's
in
not
the first
giving
month
us
of the
much
year,
time.
we allow, for
We
some
always
people.
got them in November, so
Well, you can't if the budget meeting's in December. We can't have coupons earlier than, yeah. 2 weeks, 2 weeks is the time for coupons. Okay?
it's going to be a little late.
You'll know how much you have to pay anyway, so, yeah. You will. You will. Okay, you will know. You'll know tomorrow. Yes. Good news. They're payment coupons that show what you need to pay every month. You need the microphone.
No, because I didn't know, I just need
Yeah.
to know, what does she mean by coupons?
Those are your payment coupons for your monthly maintenance.
Gloria, you may be on automatic payments, that's why. Not
Oh.
everyone is.
That's why.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you.
That's why I didn't understand it, thank you.
Perfect. If you are already on automatic
yeah.
payments,
So
you will not receive
I won't
coupons.
receive
No.
it, thank you.
But can we republish the amounts that everyone will be charged as of January 1st, please, in an e-blast?
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Good evening, everyone. Question, I heard that there's going to be an increase in maintenance next year.
What is your name and your unit number, please?
My name is Jonathan Ardila, Unit 102.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So there's going to be an increase for next year budget, 5%. There's going to be an increase. There has been an increase in insurance. My question is, what strategies are being used, for instance, to shop around for different alternatives in insurance, or maybe strategies for reducing water, maybe changing, in the previous building that I live,
I can't hear him.
it was there was an expense on the water system for the toilets that it decreased the water consumption drastically. So my question is, what it's being used for, shopping different insurances or looking for alternatives, or we're just going by the increase that the current insurance give us and is then applied to the homeowners? That's my question.
Yes, Jonathan, we did shop the insurance, and we've gotten probably the best rate, or the lowest increase of any building in this strip. Everybody else has gone up 15 to 25%. We went up 10.
Oh, great.
Yes, we did shop, of course.
Okay.
The board is very diligent on it. As far as expenses on water, what we did today, just drain all these lines, and what we do when we drain lines, when people do water shutdowns to change valves, that's expensive. And unfortunately, we don't have valves that hold, and that's why we're going through all these mechanical upgrades. So hopefully, correct that. I know I expect our electric bill to go down substantially next year. Water, I'm not sure, but we all need to cooperate as far as water. If you notice you have a running flapper, have it changed. Don't let your toilet bowl just go round and round and just expensive.
Oh, no, I understand, but
And
my
it all
question-
helps. Every little bit helps.
Yeah, like it'll be nice if some sort of device research can be introduced to the homeowners that eventually is gonna decrease the water consumption. Same thing with energy efficient switches or lights or timers that can in the future help the building itself too.
All our lighting will be LED. The corridors, everything in this property will be LED. So we hope to save substantially on electrical. And yeah, if you have any ideas, Jonathan, please come my way. You know where I'm at.
Al, can I add something to what this gentleman is talking about, if I
Please,
understood
Alex,
correctly?
go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Okay, so basically, I wanted to point out, I believe the gentleman is talking about energy efficiency and what we can do to reduce energy costs in the building. If that's what he's
Correct.
asking about,
Yes.
I just want everybody to understand that the mechanical and electrical projects that we are doing, most of the focus is on energy conservation. So one of the biggest consumers of energy in the building at this moment is the reheat system on the makeup air systems in our corridors. So that we're consuming a lot of gas to heat that steam, to be able to reheat the air. And in our new mechanical project, we're actually going to be recuperating the rejected heat going to the cooling tower, and we're going to be sending that to our brand new air handlers. So we're going to be reducing energy costs dramatically in the building. So there's a lot of energy and focus on reducing energy costs, especially with all the mechanical and electrical projects that we're taking on.
That's great. That's great to hear. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have 3 liens on the building. What kind of the liens? Could you explain us?
Please identify yourself, please.
Apartment 1614, Cecilia.
Liens in place on the property are from mainly violations with the city of Hallandale Beach, and we're working on reducing those. We had a hearing today. We will settle the fiasco we had with the turtle lights finally, so that's going to be resolved. The other one we have is the storm water drainage system in the garage. That's going to be eliminated. So these will be reduced by 2. The other one is going to be a lot longer because it's the riser project. That's going to be almost 2 years, and that's going to be in place until we resolve the project and it's 100% completed and inspected and passed by the city.
So do you know approximately the time when we will get rid of it?
There's 2 that'll be eliminated immediately. We're going to work on those and settle the fines. We'll reduce it by 90%. And then there's one, which is the riser. The project's 1 year or longer. And until it's 100% completed and inspected by the city, the lien will be valid on the building.
So how long? 1 year?
1 year, 1 year at least.
1 more year to wait, right?
1 year for the project. Okay. Service here, look at that.
Thank you. Thank you. The piece of paper you handed out has $2.5 million of unfunded projects, some of which are special assessment, so we know the money is going to cover them, but we have a substantial amount that are not special assessment projects. How are we going to pay for those projects?
What the document you're looking at?
The one you just handed out this evening, it shows $2.5 million of reserve projects, $2.5 million.
Well, we don't have reserves, Mr. Cadana.
No, but those projects are listed as needing money to complete them.
But we just waived the reserves.
Sorry,
There's no need to have
I'm
them.
not talking about reserves. I'm talking about we have a list of projects that the building plans to do, most of which have started, if I'm reading this correctly. Equipment.
You're looking at the reserve schedule.
I'm looking at the reserve schedule.
Yeah, but we don't have reserves.
Al, there's a list of projects on this piece of paper. Are these projects that we've started? It shows that money has already been spent against most of these projects. I don't care if they're reserve or not, but we're committed to spending money against these projects, if I'm right.
No.
No.
No. Some of them are probably special assessment, but no, your roof replacement is fine, the building painting is fine.
Where's the money coming from? They're not special assessment projects. So I'm trying to understand, where is the money coming from for those projects?
This is a listing that was created from a reserve study. So what it says there, if you just look at the lines on the right, where it has the estimated balance for fully funded, okay? So the estimated replacement cost for a pavement resurfacing is $40,000. The estimated balance to fully funded is $40,000. We do not have reserves in this building. You're required, when you present a budget and you put together documents, that you still have to have a reserve component in the presentation of the budget. So if we had reserves, this would be the schedule of when these things, you can see the estimated remaining useful life is when it's estimated that those things will be exhausted and have to be replaced.
Got it.
But we don't have reserves towards those.
So these projects are
So
not going to be operational next year.
These are not projects. These are things that have a lifespan, that are anticipated that at some point that lifespan will be used up, and they need to be replaced. Not most, buildings that have reserves put the money
I understand.
every month and every year towards those to accumulate those balances in the time frame that the useful life is there. We don't have reserve, but this is necessary to be
Okay.
for legal reasons. It has to be part of the budget.
So none of these projects are really going to happen next year because we don't have the reserve
These-
money.
But
to
these
do
are
it.
things, when you ask where the operating funds go to, these are things that, when they break and have to be repaired and
understand that.
the useful life is gone or diminished, that we have to do something to keep those things operating if we can't replace them.
So what you're
so-
saying is, over time, this building needs to build up its reserves again because we have a list of things that we
No,
know will
you
have to
you
be
have
done.
two choices. You can pay reserves and accumulate these funds so that when the scheduled useful life of them is up, those amounts have been accumulated. We're not doing that. So what we're doing is that when these things happen, and what's happened over the years is these things have been pushed off and not done, and that's why the building's in the situation it is. And now we're doing it, and we're replacing all these things that need to be replaced and fixed, but we don't have the reserves to do it, so what did we do? Have an assessment. So that's the choice. You have reserves to accumulate the funds to pay for these projects over time, or you get assessed and pay for them when they come up.
Which we'll have to do in the coming years, obviously.
Absolutely.
That's
Okay.
what I want to.
Did that answer your question?
That answered the question perfectly.
Okay. Need a motion to adjourn? Motion by Clyde. Marla made a motion, and, okay, Clyde seconded. Very good. We're adjourned. Thank you all so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Good night.
Good night, thank you.
Bob. Adjourn. Bye, Bob. Bye, Robert. Bye, Alex.
Bye, Marla.
Bye.
Pleasant dreams.
Bye, Bob. Bye,
Bye-bye.
Robert.
Bye.